Hello guys, it's me Mitch and welcome back to another video. I'm currently on my couch filming with the DJI OSMO Pocket 3 and this thing is so freaking cool. I had no idea how cool this thing was and I can't believe this type of technology exists. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about something that I had a realization again with my therapist a couple of weeks ago. Only now am I able to really talk about it because I was so frustrated about this topic. And it had to do with my relationship to food. I don't know if I mentioned in some of my videos in the past, I used to struggle with a mild eating disorder growing up or in high school. And I say mild because I was able to, when I was 17, I was able to kind of snap out of it and not starve myself and also not make myself throw up anymore. But even in that 1.5 years of me doing all that, it still had long-term effects, and I guess I didn't really realize it fully and how badly it was until recently. I know that over the years of therapy and also just aligning with myself spiritually, I feel like I have made a lot of changes and also have healed my relationship to myself and my body a lot. But there are still moments, especially when it comes to food and making the right or healthier choices and when I eat food, it's still something that I struggle with. And I was really frustrated 3 weeks ago because not only was I PMSing, my skin allergies were absolutely awful. I had wounds all over my body. I could not for the life of me figure out why I kept making not the best food choices. And I was talking to my therapist about this because it sucks, and I was angry and I felt guilty and shit and just all around just awful. Not only did those 1.5 years really get to me, but I was also exposed to just very toxic views on how a body should look like, and just social media and all of these things growing up, and the messages that I was hearing, not just from the media but also my own parents, weren't the best for me. So it takes a really long time to actually undo all of that, and it doesn't just happen in 2 or 3 years. It takes longer than that, and it sucks, but it's also good to know this. My whole life up until I was 23 or 24, I'm 27 now, I've always had a certain image of how a body should be, and I was really harsh to myself. I remember back then when I snapped out of it, I replaced it with becoming vegetarian and not really eating enough and doing a lot of sports. So it was healthier because yes, I was eating, but I turned vegetarian for not the right reasons. Simultaneously, I also didn't really eat enough. And back then it made me feel like I was in control and I really liked how I looked. But I think I was the skinniest at that time. I wouldn't say I had a lot of muscle on me, but I was definitely thinner. And even then I was so insecure about my body. I still felt like I had to lose more weight every single time. Later on, I realized it wasn't really working for me and I stopped being vegetarian and I started doing sports again, this time with a lot of weight training and also counting my calories. Because I was counting calories, I had this false sense of control over myself when really everything was just honestly spiraling mentally and emotionally. I felt physically so fit at the time, but all I could think about was just the calories that I would have to take in that day. I could not think about anything else. I was so consumed by what I need to eat that day and or even just the week, and everything was just around having to count the calories that I eat. Eventually I just started knowing what foods had how many calories, and that was absolutely toxic for myself. And then I stopped doing that, and then I also all around stopped going to the gym because it was horrible for my mental health. I had such a toxic relationship with the gym eventually, and I didn't enjoy it anymore because of the fact that I was doing it again for not the right reasons, and obviously in the end it just backfired again. So fast forward, when I turned 24 in that year, I started therapy and I started really trying to work on coming from a more loving place when it came to just every aspect of my life. And I have to say that when it comes to food, it's still really hard to do that. Sometimes my mindset that I used to have slips up and I do a lot of self-loathing and I get really frustrated with myself. My therapist said this thing that really made a lot of sense, and honestly it's something so logical, but I didn't click with me until then. And since then, I felt such relief hearing that. So that's why I wanted to share this with you guys, because I feel like this could be a really good way to go. She basically said, it is very hard for you to heal an eating disorder because of the fact that it's something that you're faced with every single day. Food is something that you're faced with every single day, and it's every time you decide to eat or when you're deciding what to eat, you're faced with all those years of, beating up your body, basically mentally, physically, emotionally. You're faced with it again every time you have to eat, which is every single day, and every time you need to build up the courage and the love for yourself to not go down that path again. So it is exhausting, it is a lot to think about, and it does take a lot of your mental space, so it's very normal. And she was basically, as usual, we always talk about self-compassion and being kind and realizing this, but it's such an obvious thing when she said it. So that tiny statement that she said was such a big impact on me that since then I feel such relief from it. She also urged me to try and see the bigger picture. So there are plenty of motivational videos and discipline videos out there that talk about how daily habits matter and that these habits help you reach your goal. And I don't disagree with that. For me, however, I know that the details matter. I'm not disagreeing. But for me, it felt so nitpicky and it was very discouraging. She basically urged me to try and see in a month's view or in a year's view. So for instance, with sports, rather than beating myself up that I only did sports once a week, she urged me to see it in a month. Okay, how many times did you do sports in a month? And that could have been like 10 times or 15 times, or even if it would just have been 8 times, that's still a lot. For me, I think that's great, and that's also still better than no sports. And also in a year, how healthy did you feel in those 8 months out of 12? And 8 months out of 12 is a lot of months. It was so simple and refreshing, and it really helped me a lot to cut myself some slack. And I wanted to share this because I feel like since then I have been mostly transitioning to a more vegan diet, and I choose to be vegan because it makes me feel good. I always feel much better, not just because of my tummy, but also my allergies, because I'm allergic to a lot of things, including dairy as well. So milk is something that I'm allergic to too. And I've been feeling really good about myself, and I haven't been eating perfectly, and there's also no such thing as perfect, but I've been eating some snacks here and there, but it's coming from like a place of love this time and not hatred towards myself and not frustration and binging. I don't know. I know it's only been 2 or 3 weeks since then, but it's definitely helped so much that she's mentioned this to me, and I just wanted to share that side and just remind you guys to cut yourself some slack. And yes, daily habits are important, but it doesn't help if you're constantly nitpicking on yourself and, doing it because you hate yourself. Well, I don't know. For some people, coming from a place of hate tends to work, but I don't. That doesn't work with me, and I also don't really encourage it. And that's all I wanted to share. Yeah. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week and happy healing, and I hope I see you guys in the next one. Bye!